Hey guys, welcome to Believe in Eagles. It is NFL Week 7, and as always, our show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. To be honest, if you watched or listened to yesterday's show, I kind of lied to you guys. It wasn't actually a lie. I just misled you, I think, because I changed my mind. See, what happened was that I said I was going to make a little Thursday Night Football parlay pick and then post it for you. But then before the game, I saw the injury report for both teams. And I realized that it would just be absolutely chaotic to bet like that. So I kind of pivoted, and I'll be making some picks for Sunday's Giants-Eagles game, and I'll post them on my Instagram at Mayock. So make sure you head on over to the betonline.com website and join me this weekend. I'm not sure what all my picks will be. All I know is that whatever Saquon Barkley's rushing yards prop is, I'll be betting the over just because I have a brain. But that's it. So let's get into it. Our guest this week, you guessed it, former New York Giant, Mike Mayock. Boo. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel bad. I'm going to switch it. Former white D-back, Mike Mayock. Woo! Clap, clap, clap. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Was that fun for you?
No.
Oh.
No. But I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks. So we've unlocked a new location for you. What's up? Where are you? What's going on?
Well, we're down south and we're hanging out down here for about 4 or 5 weeks. And I'm working out of the state of Georgia and watching a bunch of this past week. And just as a heads up for Eagle fans, this is the first week I haven't seen their game on tape. So anything I say about the Eagles this week is through the prism of the regular television last Sunday, looking at all the stats and numbers, having a feel for what they do anyway. But I've had to watch so much college tape this week, I haven't had a chance to put the Eagles in.
I don't think anyone's going to get mad at you. I think it's going to be fine.
Well, I don't like talking without watching the tape, but that's my own little thing.
And I twisted your arm to come on here this week. Okay, you're really amped up today, so let's get into it. Boston College played last night. Did they win? Oh, is this why you're sad?
No, they were awful. They were down 28-0 in the first half and lost the game at Virginia Tech. So that was a bad night for BC.
Ooh, were any of your friends there?
Dougie Geyer drove down in an RV with his son, 2 other dads and their sons.
Oh, that must have been a bad ride back.
Yeah.
Those trips are so rough. It reminds me of like when people go to Vegas, they're so amped up like on the plane, and then on the plane back, they're like depressed and broke.
Well, it's funny because when Doug talked about RVing down there, my first thought went to Penn State because I think where you went, Penn State's probably the king of the RV weekends. And I was always amazed when I did a game at Penn State, just how early they got there and how many people RV'd for the whole weekend. It's kind of crazy.
Do you remember when Uncle Pete did that trip to Penn State when I was there? He RV'd with his friends. I met up with them, and then he taught me how to sneak whiskey into the stadium.
He
put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in his pocket, and I followed suit, and I appreciate that to this day.
Very proud of my brother Pete introducing you to the whiskey in the bag trick. It's good.
Well, he's your younger brother. Did he teach you that? I mean, did you teach him that?
No, I don't drink. I don't drink whiskey. I'm just a beer and wine guy. So
I didn't know if you ever dabbled.
Now, Pete is very creative when it gets to alcohol.
All right, good to know. Okay, so BC, Virginia Tech. This explains your mood because you're kind of a downer right now, and so BC lost. It's a huge college football weekend, actually. Penn State's on a bye, but what is it? Texas, Georgia.
That's a huge one at 7:30 Saturday night. I think Tennessee and Alabama is Alabama right before it.
Yeah, and yes, and Notre Dame has somebody too.
I think they're at Georgia Tech.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay. Yeah, it'll be a good college football weekend.
Yep.
I'm starting to get in. Am paying way more attention to college football now. I feel like I was always just running around doing things on Saturdays, and now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit, I'm gonna watch, and it's just so fun. It's so fun. It makes me really nostalgic, though, honestly.
Well, I mean, you went to one of the best places in the country for college
We
football.
are, and guess who else did? Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Why do I feel like you hate me today?
What do you mean? I'm just letting you roll.
You're just letting me roll. Okay. Well, all right. Well, I mean, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to go around the league first?
You're the host.
Okay. Well, let's go around the league. What's going on across the league? Do you remember that song?
No.
Oh, it's Jagged Edge. So, okay. We haven't talked actually at all since this weekend. So a lot has happened since then, including Amari Cooper and Devontae Adams being traded. You thought that your prediction on this pod was that Devontae Adams would go to the Bills. He did not. He went to the Jets. Do you even remember making that prediction?
I wasn't trying to make a prediction. I was trying to say keep your eyes open for Buffalo because they need a wideout.
Right. I was going to say you were right, church, wrong pew, because they did need a wideout and they got Amari Cooper. What do you think those trades are doing for those teams?
I think both teams are going to be better offenses because of the trades. And the intriguing thing to start with Devontae Adams is he's 31 years old. He's still in the prime of his career. He's a special wide receiver. But because he's played in the same offense that he's going to, and because he's played with Aaron Rodgers at a high level, I think the time necessary for him to get up and produce quickly will be minimal. So it's not like they have to give him baby steps. I mean, he probably still knows most of the hand signals that Aaron Rodgers uses during games. And Aaron Rodgers is very picky. Like if you're not in the right place on a route, he didn't want to throw it to you.
And then he'll call you out for it after.
Well,
Mike Williams. I hated that. I'm sorry. I respect that man, and I think he's a great quarterback, but I hate how he handled that.
Well, I think there's certain things better handled one-on-one, not publicly.
Right.
And
that's all I mean.
That's probably one of them. But my point is I think Devontae Adams can get up and running very, very quickly in that offense, and they need him. And I'm hoping he can kind of take Garrett Wilson, who's a really, really talented young receiver, and help him kind of get to the right places at the right time in that offense. Because I think if Devontae does what I think he can do for that offense, it's not just about him. It's about helping some of those other wideouts. And then when you look at Amari Cooper in Buffalo, I give Buffalo a ton of credit. Brandon Beane, their GM, has always been active. He works the phones. He knows what he's doing. Amari Cooper will come in there. And remember, they traded or they didn't re-sign Stephon Diggs. And so they haven't had a true number one wideout. But what's ironic is Josh Allen hasn't even thrown an interception yet. For the first 6 games of a year, he's always thrown multiple interceptions. He hasn't thrown one yet this year. So I think Amari Cooper coming in will create separation. It makes some easier targets for him. And Buffalo, let's face it, they want to get over the hump. This is a potential Super Bowl roster, and they might not even be done making moves yet.
Oh, what kind of moves do you think they would make otherwise?
Well, I heard and watched a little bit of what Brandon Beane had to say the other day after the Cooper trade. And what he basically said is we have several weeks left till the trade deadline, and we might not be done. So bottom line is I think he's looking to position them, and I don't know where he's going or what he's doing. But like I said, Brandon's always open and available on the phone to talk to about potential trades. A lot like Howie Roseman. They're always working the phones.
What's their other biggest points of need, though?
Oh.
What would they even be targeting?
I don't know because they've had some injuries on defense.
Okay.
The linebacker Milano's out. Von Miller hasn't played great at defensive end. There's all this Max Crosby talk out there right now. So they could use an edge rusher. So there's they're wide open, I think, to whatever.
Speaking of Max, as we tend to do, I enraged some of our Raiders people, fans of the show, friends of the show, because I tweeted out something like, so are we all in agreement that Max Crosby should come to Philly? And they were like, no, your Vegas card is revoked, blah, blah, blah. But what do you think is going on with the Raiders team now? Devontae Adams is gone. Tom Brady is in. What's going on with that organization?
Well,
you had to guess.
It's a hard time frame. Put yourself in a player's position right now, okay? You've won, you're what, 2-4, and management has just traded your best offensive player. So the signal that management is sending basically is the season's over.
Rebuild.
Yeah. Last thing you as a player wants to think about. I think the head coach and people are doing a good job of saying, hey, we haven't had him the last couple of weeks, and this is just about us, not about who other people outside the building. But it's a transition time, and it's difficult for any franchise. So, that the owner was quoted as saying there's no way Max Crosby's leaving. I just think Max is frustrated.
Yeah.
Max wants to win.
So. Yeah.
He wants to win football games, and he's all in. Everything he does in his life, he's all in. And my heart goes out to him because I know that it's like a dagger, and he's trying to say and do all the right things. And I think Max is going to come out and play his ass off this weekend like he always does.
What do you think about the Tom Brady of it all and the broadcasting of it all? Could you imagine being a part owner of the team and also broadcasting games on Sundays?
Well, so they've put some of these restrictions on him, right?
A lot of restrictions, and I don't know how you call games with those restrictions.
I don't think it's that big a deal, to be honest. I mean, he's not allowed in the building, blah, blah, blah. I think, his partners that he does the games with are still allowed in the buildings. They're still allowed to watch practice. He can tell them what questions he wants them to ask the head coach and the coordinators and blah, blah, blah. He'll get all the feedback. And let's really be honest. I'm sure he has relationships on every team in the league. Players, coaches, everybody. And if he gets on the phone and picks somebody's brain, who's to stop him from doing that? And so do I see a conflict of interest? Of course I do. I think the bigger question in my mind is how much are the Raiders going to want input from him? Because I heard Mark Davis say something like maybe he'll help us pick our next quarterback.
Yeah, he said that.
To me, that now all of a sudden you're taking this 10% ownership or whatever he has, and you're making him a consultant or more. How does that work with the head coach GM dynamic? Is he going to sit in there and watch tape with the GM and the head coach for the next? I mean, that opens up a whole lot of other questions for what his true role is going to be. And if he's going to be more active than a typical limited partner, then there's even more questions about what he should be allowed to do, or should he even be allowed to be a broadcaster?
When you were there in 2020, how close were you guys to signing Tom Brady as a quarterback?
There were a bunch of teams talking to him and his agents, so I have no idea.
That's it?
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you talk to him? Did you ever have meetings with him?
No, he can't. Lee, he was under contract.
Oh, so you're saying it was just everyone was talking to him, basically?
No, I'm saying that nobody was allowed to talk to him.
Well, his agents,
Lee, things are, there's a lot of rules in the NFL that you got to be aware of, and one of them is tampering. So, he was under contract to a different team.
Oh, got you. Okay, interesting. Do you think that? I don't know. It's crazy to me that you don't think it's a conflict of interest for him to be calling the games.
Oh, I know it's a conflict of interest, but
you just don't think it's a big deal?
No, I just I don't think the league, and you just saw the league's not going to say you can't do that. The league's going to say, here's your box that you have to play in, and as long as you stay in the box, you're fine. I see a conflict of interest, and I do believe that, he probably ought to pick one or the other, but it's not my call, and the league's going to do what the league's going to do.
Okay, fair enough. All right, want to get into the Eagles?
Whatever you like there.
Okay, so last game, the Eagles won, but it was an ugly win. What did you see there? What's the state of the Eagles after that game? And we know you didn't watch tape. You just watched the regular broadcast.
I don't feel any better about them today than I did a week ago. And, offensively, they struggled. That's a team they should have put away early. The Browns are not a good football team. They were up, 10-3 before half, trying to kick a long field goal right before half, and it gets blocked. So instead of going into halftime 13-3, they have a field goal blocked and return for a touchdown, and it's 10-10 against a poor team. So you're keeping a bad team in the game through a blocked field goal. They didn't run the ball well on offense. To their credit, they didn't turn the ball over, and that goes to the quarterback. Okay. So there were no turnovers on offense. They're still crappy in the red zone. I think they were 0 for 1 in the red zone late. So they were only in it once, which tells you how poorly they moved the football. So they were only in the red zone once. They didn't convert in the red zone. I think when you look at the statistics around the league, once you get in the red zone, the Eagles have put points on the board, field goals and touchdowns, 67% of the time. That's 31st in the league, right? They've only scored touchdowns 44% of the time. That's 25th in the league. So offensively, red zone is a problem. Defense last week was better. They had 5 sacks. They still didn't generate a turnover. They didn't allow a touchdown, most importantly, 3 field goals. The only touchdown was the block field goal. So I thought there was some progress on defense, but that was against a really bad Cleveland offense and a bad offensive line. And so, they get the Giants this week. And let's not forget special teams, because they had some special teams things a couple of weeks ago with the punt returns, remember?
Oh, yeah, everyone's running into each other. Yeah,
so all 3 phases need to take steps forward and get cleaner and more efficient. I thought the defense played pretty well last week. They can't turn, they're -6 in turnover differential. There's just a lot of stuff that they got to clean up. They play the Giants this week at New York. The Giants are averaging 9 points a game at home. The Eagles ought to squat on them and not let Daniel Jones do anything. Malik Neighbors is literally their only dynamic offensive player, and he's coming off concussion.
Right.
And he's a rookie. So they got to sit on Malik Neighbors. They can't let Daniel Jones' legs beat them, because Daniel Jones was their leading rusher last week. Daniel Jones is a good athlete. Can't let his legs beat you. You got to squat all over Neighbors. Their best offensive lineman is out this week. So you look at all those things, and the defense of the Eagles ought to keep them under 14 points or less, right? Mm-hmm. They're only averaging 9 at home, the Giants. So the Eagles defense ought to keep them at 14 points or less. Offensively, it's frustrating watching the Eagles offense. It really is. And
just ask the fans in the stands yelling at Nick Sirianni.
There's another topic. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm a Nick Sirianni fan, and I root for Nick Sirianni. But I don't think his job is to go and challenge the Philadelphia Eagle fans for booing him. The Eagles didn't play well. The Eagle fans have booed for years and years. That's part of
there's nothing new there. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and let's be real honest, maybe they deserve to be booed the way they played last week. And Nick's job is to coach the team. Mm-hmm. It's not to yell at his home team fans. And what really frustrates me is what that does really. It might make Nick feel better yelling at them at the end of the game. But what it does is it invites that issue into the locker room. And now the players have to deal with it, and the coaches have to deal with it. And everybody's asking about Nick and his reaction. And it just takes away from your energy of preparing for the Giants. So, again, I'm a Nick Sirianni fan, but I hope he's learned a lesson. And his job, and this is what Bill Parcells used to say, Bill Polian, the great GM, who I really respect. I heard him the other day. He said, basically, Nick, your job is to coach the football team. So coach it. And that's what I agree with.
Yeah, you're right, because obviously you're not in Philly right now, but all Philly sports radio, all Philly sports radio all week has just been talking about Nick Sirianni and his antics. And, not that this is part of it, but I think this was the telltale sign that we didn't know. The shaving of the head, and then just freaking out at the fans, and then bringing your kid to deflect from hard questioning at a press conference after an ugly win. That's all Philly has been talking about, instead of just talking about an ugly win, so to speak, and looking ahead to the Giants. So I see what you're saying. That's way too much additional noise that your head coach is bringing into a locker room.
Yeah, it's so hardly with, I hate social media, and here I am.
You don't say.
I hate a lot of stuff about our society today. But when your job is to win football games, part of that is to carve out as much of the noise as you can and lock in on your real job. And I'm talking about coaches, players, GMs, scouts, everybody. That's your job. Lock in on your job on a daily basis and not let all the noise bother you. So I'm hoping that's what the Eagles do. I hope they lock in and play their best game of the year this week.
Do you think that's what Saquon's doing right now, being it's his return to the Meadowlands after his kind of dramatic time there?
I heard him quoted earlier, basically and I like this quote. He basically just said, a lot played out this offseason on Hard Knocks and all the rest of it. But, he said, I hope the Giant fans respect me and what I worked for there. And I hope that, hope they don't boo me, but if they do, they do. So,
honestly, yeah.
I think it's up to him just to control what he can control this week. And that's his performance.
I think every quote I've seen him give, and even like the tone of his voice when I've seen it on camera, it's been giving like emotional maturity and just calm, cool, stoic, collected. And that's probably a good sign. Kind of opposite of what Nick has been acting like, but.
Well, I like the fact that Nick, a day or two later, apologized at his press conference.
Facts.
And to me, that shows some maturity. And, and like I said, I like Nick. I'm rooting for Nick.
Right.
So that's where I am.
Okay. So it would be crazy if I didn't ask you a story about any type of story from your time at the Giants. I know it wasn't a long time. I know it wasn't necessarily a good time for you, but give us something. I have a story I was thinking of, your Lawrence Taylor story. Would you tell that one, or do you have a better one?
Which one?
The napping.
What's that? The napping?
Yeah.
I mean,
paint a picture for us. Set the scene.
1982 was Lawrence Taylor's second year in the league. He and I were both drafted in 1981. He was the second or third overall pick. I was like the 250-something overall pick.
Didn't they have like 10 rounds back then?
12.
Oh, 12.
And I was a 10th rounder.
Good
and
job.
The Steelers cut me. I go to Toronto, break an ankle in Toronto, sign with the Giants. And long story short, I make the Giants in 1982. The head coach is Ray Perkins. The defense coordinator is Bill Parcells. The linebacker coach and special team coach is Bill Belichick. And that was the beginning of their Super Bowl team 3 or 4 years later, in 86 or whatever the year that was.
You just missed it.
I did. And if I wish I could have stayed healthy, that was my issue, was that.
I know. If you did, I would have a Super Bowl ring right now.
No, you really wouldn't.
Sorry, proceed.
But anyway, so 82, I'm a rookie. And technically a rookie, even though it's my second year because I didn't make the team. And Lawrence Taylor is now a veteran. He's in his set. So I'm the only rookie that I was the only non-drafted player that made the team that year. And So I was the lowest man on the defensive totem pole. And we come in the first week of regular season, and Lawrence Taylor looked at me and said, "Okay, Rook, here's your job for the year." He said, "We're both going to lay on the floor in front of the film," because in the old days, it was film, not videotape. So they turned all the lights out and put the film on a projector on the screen, and guys would sit all over the room, some on the floor. He said, "So I'm going to lay down on the floor and go to sleep. And every time I start to snore, you just elbow me." And literally, that's how it played out. Like Belichick would yell something, and LT, "What are you doing? Stan Walters, da da da," and I'd elbow him, and he'd wake up and say that again, Bill, and Bill would tell him, and he'd answer the question. And
when he first asked you to do that, did you think he was joking? Like, I think I would have thought he was joking.
Even though we were teammates, he scared me. I mean, that was a bad dude. That might be
LT, the original.
That might be one of the baddest dudes that ever walked the earth. And when he said that was my job, and I always was kind of, when rookies had, you had to sing, you had to do things, that was always, I believed in all that. So If he told me I had to get the donuts, I was going to get the donuts. If he told me to wake them up, I was going to wake them up. I mean, that was my job.
How did you do your job? Were you successful? No issues?
Yeah, we're good. It was all good.
Good job, Dad. Honestly, you basically helped the team.
That was a hard year because the players went on strike.
Oh, right.
So after we played the second game of the year against the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football, on Tuesday morning, the NFL went on strike. Not the NFL, the players. The players walked out of the buildings, and I was like, I've only played 2 games. I want to be here. I don't want to be.
Can I stay excuse me? Can I stay? I'll play.
And then the owners locked everybody out. So we all stayed up in North Jersey for about a month, 6 weeks, and worked out 5 days a week at a local high school.
As a team, players?
Yeah. Yeah. Like our captains called us together, and we stayed together for a good month to 6 weeks working out. So I lost, I forget how many games we were. I think we lost 7, 8 games, and we came back and played 6. So it was like a 9-game season. So maybe we lost 7. And when we came back, here's what kills me is that, so I was involved on all the special teams the first 2 weeks. I played in the nickel package. I felt like I was getting involved a little bit, which was all good for me. And then we go on strike. And the first game back, I ripped my shoulder against the Redskins on a kickoff and a rotator cuff. I'm done for the year. So I only played in 3 games the first year because of the strike and the injury. Then we come back the next year in '83, and I partially tear my ACL in the preseason game. Come back at the end of the year, play last 7 or 8 games, whatever. But that was the end of it. My knees were shot, and I was done.
You know what I see there, though, Dad? Perseverance.
You have not learned a thing, have you?
Perseverance from you.
I hear you.
That was a compliment.
I'm teasing you.
Okay. Well, thanks for your fun little story.
You're welcome.
I'll let you go in a second. What's your prediction for this game?
I don't have one.
Would you say that it's more important for the Eagles to win than Giants right now? Or do you think it's kind of the pressure's on for both teams?
I think the pressure, it's always, both teams have a ton of pressure. And, the Giants are fighting for their lives. Their defense is really good. They've got to make a decision about their quarterback, Daniel Jones, over the rest of the season and going into next year's draft and everything. And for the Eagles, people are starting to forget that they were in the Super Bowl in 22, and they're starting to remember more about the last 11 or 12 games instead of how good they were before that. So, right now people are frustrated with the Eagles, and they need to start. Doesn't have to be bang, all of a sudden you're a Super Bowl team, but what it has to be is every week you're getting a little bit better winning. And you and I talked about how they got to take advantage of this 4-game stretch.
Right.
And even though it was an ugly win last week, it was a win. And they got to get another win this week. That's all.
All right. Battle it up in the Meadowlands. It'll be fun to watch. I really hope Saquon does well. Just to get that first game back off his shoulders and be able to celebrate a little bit. I feel like that was probably a crazy time.
You've got the whole Penn State and Eagle thing going for you there.
Oh, so I'm a little biased?
A little bit. That's good.
Well, I can admit it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Did you golf yet today?
I hit some balls this morning.
How many swings are you allowed now after the hip?
I'm pretty good right now. I'm good to go.
Really?
If my back's okay.
Oh, here we go again.
My hip feels great.
It was all that Redskins game that got you. Brutal.
The Redskins, yeah.
Your shoulder.
I got you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us. People really do value your football IQ, even when you don't watch tape. So we love having you here.
Oh, Lee, you're very welcome.
I love you, Dad. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.